Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Going through viewer questions on the community page. Uh, One that was brought up was, what was the real purpose behind the family separation policy? Was Trump or someone in his administration related to child trafficking? Is that the reason why so many kids can't be found? What's going on? Somebody else was asking, does this have to do with other governors trying to roll back child labor laws? Great questions. Not a light reading by any stretch of the imagination, huh? Another one said, yeah, what about Melania's jacket? We all remember that jacket, right? That brought all our attention to it. I will say the kids in cages thing brought me to my first protest rally that I ever went to in my life. It terminated a friendship I had had with somebody that I had known since college because we couldn't agree on the morality and ethics of that issue. You know, if you can't say that policy was wrong, then I just have no time for you in my social life. Thank you very much. Here's your T-shirt and your supply of rice-a-roni. Be gone. Okay, but let's see. We can take a look on that one. I was about to reach to lower the camera down. I tried to do a little bit of research on it. There's no real recent information with regards to this. The brief stuff I did read, it's been very difficult for the Biden administration to find parents of these kids because you have to go back to Central American countries trying to find them. And the kids aren't necessarily reliable witnesses. And the Trump administration, as I recall at the time, they weren't keeping records. They weren't doing any due diligence on record keeping for this issue. And it was brought up years ago that reuniting these kids with their parents was going to be an almost impossible task because there were no resources being given or processed to allow for that reunification. It was basically, they came up with the process to separate them and that's it. Job done. Everybody have a cocktail. Stephen Miller. May you earn what you earn for your policies on this one, my friend. And I mean that in the most snarkiest, sarcastic way possible, because that's some dark stuff you did there. Congratulations. You must be so proud. Okay, for entertainment purposes only, what's the situation going on with reuniting kids at the border? Knight of Pentacles. Folks are still going forward with it. Trying to get them reunited. You know, there's still a lot of action. They haven't given up on doing it. What's challenging them? Time, all the time that's gone by. You know, as these parents move, you know, they had to go back. Some might find themselves in situations where they even if they wanted the kids back, they maybe couldn't afford it, or they're in a situation where they just can't be found. Maybe they've started new lives and don't want that. Maybe they're dead, you know, or maybe they're still looking for their kids and they don't have the resources to get to them. There's a whole spectrum of challenges that need to be done, that need to be overcome, trying to reunite these kids with their parents. And again, it was pointed out the difficulty that this was going to be, trying to reunite them, because the previous administration wasn't interested in reuniting. They were only interested in separating. In the past justice, this was, you know, this policy was put in place. The American justice system failed. It did not check it. This was not checked. This was something that was allowed to happen, and it was a huge injustice to these families and these people. They are human beings, and not all the kids. The kids aren't in the detention centers anymore. They're either with family or extended relatives, or they might have been put into, you know, child welfare programs, but they're not still caged up. But, you know, again, they're not with their parents, and some of the kids, you know, again, they've been adopted or they're in the opposite agencies. They didn't ask for this. Well, maybe spiritually they did, but nobody on this planet would say that these kids or these parents wanted that. Okay, so we go from the Wheel of Fortune to the World card, trying to close the loop, looking all over the world for these parents and to reunite and close the loop on this situation with these kids and their folks. So the work continues. 3 major arcana in a row, by the way. Over it all, though, is that not all of them will get reunited. They just won't. Parents can't be found. Kids will have been put into adoption agencies. And, I look at this and I think of, homeless teenagers and what they have to do to survive. And, how long will society continue to support these kids before they throw them out in the streets? Another thing, especially for the ones in the welfare system. 18 years old, no family, here you go, you're in the streets, you're on your own, you're an adult, bye. Lesson to be learned is about the charity and helping people out. Again, this card could also be about the folks that were coming into the United States seeking a new life, wanting to a second chance at a better life, and the charity that was not shown to them. That should have been shown to them. Certainly, your Bible would tell you that you should have taken those folks in, fed them, clothed them, and washed their feet and all that. But as we have seen, just because you say you're a good Christian, doesn't mean you are one. You're taking the Lord's name in vain. Outcome, 4 swords. At some point, they stop looking. At some point, you just can't. You've exhausted all the avenues. The cases go cold. And what has happened has happened. This is not an uplifting reading by any stretch of the imagination, is it? Underneath it all, 9 of Cups. That smug, arrogant person. Sitting there, haha, we separated him at the border. Congratulations, our team won. And all the mayhem that comes out of that. This is a program that was put together by sociopaths and racists and elitists for the simple fact of trying to keep brown people out of this country and kicking down and punching down on poor people. Plain and simple. Thankfully, for the perpetrators of this, I am just a tarot reader and not the Almighty himself. You wouldn't like it if I was in charge of it in this case. Well, you'd like it. They wouldn't. So, work goes on trying to find a reunite them, but they're not going to get everybody. Okay. Is this linked to child labor laws and human trafficking? I mean, we know it's related to human trafficking, right? Of course we do. What else would it be? Agreements. Agreements between people, probably for the exploitation of them. Yep, okay, there's your child labor laws right there. And trafficking. Yeah, it's agreements to get a cheap labor force going on there. It's basically, it's modern day slave trading. Let's call it what it is. It's a modern day slave trade. Celebrating the Trump administration's separation policy to bring all these people in, separate them from their parents, make it impossible to reunite them. And then, you can sell them for adoptions. You can have labor done with it. So, the cruel people who wanted this for their own selfish reasons, are celebrating or celebrated that. Current situation, Four of Cups. However, maybe it wasn't as glorious as they thought it was going to be. Maybe they didn't get as many people as they wanted, or they can't change the labor laws fast enough, or there's a lot of federal government scrutiny and oversight that they weren't expecting going on with it. That's entirely possible. This could also be, the child being told you have to do these things and they're trying not to. But I think this is more the people that were celebrating this have now realized that just because you got what you wanted doesn't mean that what you wanted was what you needed. Be careful what you wish for. You might get it. Congratulations, you now got it. Now what are you going to do with it? Overarching is the King of Cups. Again, I think this is using other people's interpretations of the King of Cups being like a Joe Biden type character. Biden's on top of this. This didn't die and go away once Biden became president. He has maintained an active role in his administration trying to reunite these families, and which means you have to constantly ask questions, which gets in the way of, having these kids disappear in the night. What's happening with these kids? Give us status updates. We want to know where they are, type of thing. So you can't do all the things you want to do because the government's overlooking you. And then there's the Knight of Pentacles, showed up in the last reading, because the federal government is going forward trying to reunite them. Expect the lawsuits at some point to come against the U.S. government for this policy because it violated human rights. Plain and simple. Outcome, Empress. Child labor laws. Things may work out pretty well for some of these kids and may not work out the way that these folks originally intended. Some of these kids, obviously, they're going to be trafficked. They're going to be put to work. But I think lawsuits will come that will put an end to those practices and expose those practices, and those kids can get pulled out of it. But there's no way you can make that omelet without breaking a bunch of eggs, right? Underneath it all is the Five of Wands. So that agreement with the work and just all the fighting that's going on all the energy that's being put in to make this agreement for the child labor laws. There's going to be a lot of people protesting that and fighting that, which calls attention to it. This is the type of thing, the separating kids from their parents. It's the type of thing that's best done in the middle of the night in a back alleyway when nobody's looking. But there's been a lot of attention. It hasn't left the conscience of the American people or the government, and they're still following up on it, which means that if the plans that they wanted to do are somewhat thwarted, because you still have to answer to the federal government and you have to answer to the people that are asking questions. It won't go away and it won't die so that they can then do what they want to do. All right, so I don't want to go anymore on this one. I don't like this topic. It just, I get really, really angry, and you might imagine why. I think you do too. This is it's just a violation. It's just unnecessary cruelty to a group of people who've done nothing wrong other than come to this country and try to start a new life as we encourage them to do. Sorry, not all the refugees need to come from Europe, huh? All right. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you for doing all the YouTube-y stuff that you do to keep my channel growing. And I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.